Hey everyone, so we are going to move on to the next video, which is dealing with random access files. Okay, now this video series is on exceptions. However, we're going to cover just a few extra topics. And in the last video, we covered binary files. Now we're moving on to random access files. Okay, so this is one of those extra topics in the series of working with exceptions. And so we're going to start off with random access files theory. So what's some of the concepts behind random access files, and we're going to write to a random access file and simply read from a random access file. Um, so right into the theory, moving into the theory, most students begin learning file I/O with sequential access files. And what that means is that you start reading at the beginning of the file, which you could say is byte 0, and read one byte after another until the end, which every character is 2 bytes, right? So the first byte, since let me jot this down, since every character in Java is 2 bytes, the first byte is stored in I should say, yeah, 2 bytes. The first byte is stored in location 0 and 1. So that makes sense, right? Since every character in Java is 2 bytes, aka Unicode, the first byte is stored in 0 and 1. The second byte is stored in locations 2 and 3, and so on and so on. And again, sequential files, you would read one byte after another until the end. So most students begin by learning file I/O with sequential file access and read one byte after another until the end. You start at the beginning of the file, byte 0. There we go, there we go. Okay, so you get the idea. That's sequential access file. Well, random access file is, hey, maybe you want to start reading at the beginning, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to start reading in the middle of the file or at a certain point or a certain byte. So you don't have to go sequentially one after the other. You could go forwards and you could go backwards with random access files. Sequential access files, the way I think of them um, is that, maybe some of you who remember the old cassette tapes, right? If you wanted to listen to a particular song, you had to listen to every song until you get to that point. There wasn't like on a CD. On a CD, you could just jump right to song number 12. But if you had a cassette tape, you had to start at the beginning and play every song until you got to the end. Now there was a fast forward, but you get the idea. You listen to it one song after the other. So to work with random access files, there is a class, random access file. And this class is inside of Java I/O. So let's go ahead and instantiate that class. My data, and I'm going to use a .dat file. So it's going to be a binary file. And I'm going to allow read and write access, which is what RW signifies. Now, So the first argument is the name of the file. The second argument is the access, either R for read or RW for read and write. So since we're doing reading and writing, I'm gonna make the access mode RW. So again, when we're writing to a random access file, we're just going to go ahead and write things sequentially. We're not going to write them in random order, just to make it pretty simple. So I'm going to go ahead and create a letters array with all letters of the alphabet. Copy this, paste it. I think I counted that right. See how fast I can do this. I'm trying to go fast. And I got it. Z. And I'm going to just let a friendly message know, writing data to the file. And again, I am sequentially writing data to the file. I'm not writing anything randomly here. And random file dot write. And you could see all the different versions of the write methods. Since we're writing chars, I'll go ahead and write char here, and I'll set in letters sub I. Then I'll close the file. And say done. So writing data to the file and done. Again, I can go inside of my File Explorer, into Users, into my workspace, go into my folder, and this is called my data.dat. You can see this was done at 10 this morning. If I edit it in Notepad, just what we saw before. It's binary data. It's not meant for human eyes, so that's expected. Now, on to reading the random access file. We are going to use the file pointer to determine the location in the file where we should read the next byte. And I think of the file pointer almost like your cursor on your screen. If you can imagine, the file pointer is just the cursor where if I say, hey, if this is the only line of my file, right, this / being the first character, the pointer is now at byte 0. But if I put it here, we're now at byte, this is 2 bytes, so 1 and 2. So if we were to read, or sorry, 0 and 1, so if we were to put the file pointer here, the next byte we would read would be 2 and 3. So this byte would represent 0, 1, this byte 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth, including spaces. Everything's included. So the file pointer is just something we're going to use to say, okay, here, the next byte you should read should start right here. And this would represent the file pointer, just a cursor essentially in your file where you can place anywhere in the file that you want and say read the next byte or read the next string or read the next character. And so the way that we move the file pointer, we use the Sikh method. So to demonstrate the Sikh method, first thing I need to do is um, open up the stream, which you might have saw. I went ahead and I deleted closing the file. I'll close the file later on, right? So later on we'll say random file dot close. So now we can use the seek method, and we can say random file dot seek, and we'll just say position 0 just to demonstrate this should be the first character in our file. And if I were to print that out, random file dot read char. So that's the method that we're going to use to read a character from our random file at byte 0. You can see it is letter A. Now if I change that and I say position 2, that would be the second char, which should be a B. If we go to 10, you could kind of see the pattern here, F, and so forth and so on. Also, it's worth noting, so if we, I'm reading one character at a time, right? But if I say copy this a few times, and I could go forwards, I can go backwards, I can say 0, 2, 18. I can change the pointer using the seek method to different locations in the file, and you can go forwards and backwards, jump aheads or backwards. And just for fun, let's do it another time and say 100. You can see the exception that would be thrown, end of file exception. So you definitely don't want to try and read something that doesn't exist, because you will hit the end of the file. And that brings us to the end of the basics of working with random access files.